you look at a networking event, you think, oh, God, there's going to be all these people there. And 9 times out of 10, in fact, 9.9 times out of 10, when you talk to people who are like seasoned networkers, I hate that saying, but all they want to do is help because they know that they have been in your shoes. And I think if we can remember that when we first meet people, that people are genuinely nice. And sometimes, and I've had it myself, not going to lie, I have had a rude person, you know.
Yeah.
Someone's, I've asked for a business card and he's just looked me up and down and gone, no. And I'll never forget that moment. Like, that got me to the core.
Yeah.
But then I reframed it and I was like, well, Charlotte, that was not on you.
Yes.
And he did that to me. He will do that to everyone.
Exactly.
And that's
it's just
not
the way
just
they
me.
are, yeah.
Yeah, he might have been having a terrible day, whatever. But don't you hold that as something that you've done. And I think we need to all, when we're going to networking events, recognise that, yes, someone might be a bit rude or off the cuff or whatever. And then you just step away from that and be like, well, that's you. And that doesn't fit with my values. So I'm going to go and find someone that I do connect with. And that's okay. And I think we need to make sure that we're not putting ourselves and saying, oh, what did I do wrong? And what should I said that differently? Like,
because you end up thinking you did something wrong. You know, it's like, but that's their problem. They're the one being difficult, not you. And you kind of feel bad about things. I know I spoke to someone after a networking event who was very confident and was breaking into groups. And I said, how did you do that? He said, the honest thing is, a few networking events ago, I was just the same. I couldn't do it. I broke into one group, said hello, said my name, and did that more and more and more to the point where within a few events, I was just doing what I'm doing. But I started off with not talking to anyone, talked to one person, and then grew from there. And then you think, wow, that's someone who's like that. I'm not so far away from these other people as I thought. You know, it's learning about their experiences. And when you do find those bad people, you can just walk away and talk to someone else and realize that person's just going to be like that to everyone. And nobody's really going to work with a person like that. But the person you talk to next is going to more than make up for that bad person you spoke to.
Too right, Peter. Yeah, you say it so eloquently, and yeah, you're absolutely right. So if anyone's listening to this podcast right here, right now, we challenge you, go and find that networking event, find something you're passionate about and just go and get immersed into it and then tell us how you got on.
Yeah, exactly, because you never know what you might find. You might find some people who have the same interests as you. Maybe you'll find a new interest that you never even knew existed, or you'll just meet someone really interesting that you want to talk to. You just never know what you might find.
Yeah, or a husband or a wife.
Yes,
or,
you never know. So, was there ever a moment that you know of where you inspired someone else?
So I found this one the most challenging to think about because, you know, I'm just me and that's what I do. And I can't think really of that moment where I'm like, oh yeah, they're doing what they're doing because of me. Like that, I find that incredibly cringy and difficult to consider. What I would like to happen is that, so for every learner that joins one of our courses or experiences or does Startup Awards Northeast, and if they ever do research and look at first as a company and then see who the founder is and then go, oh, they look like me, maybe I could do something like that.
Yeah.
Then that's who I want to inspire, because I remember very dramatically, so she was the dean of Newcastle University Business School, and Sharon Maven, she once said, you know, you can't be what you can't see. And for me, that's always stuck with me. And I just think if I can inspire learners to think, well, bloody hell, she did it, then I'm going to give it a go.
Yeah.
And I think, so I don't have a particular, you know, one moment, but I would like to think that I hopefully am inspiring all learners to take that, you know, step into that curiosity. And, you know, you don't have to start the business, but just to consider self-employment. That's all I want anyone to do, is just to consider it. And if I can be that shining light to say, I believe in you, go for it, and
Yeah.
just try it out before you spend all this money, before you piss people off and, go down this rabbit hole of starting this business. Like, just share your ideas and find some people. If I can inspire people to take that step into the unknown, then I feel like I've done my job.
Yeah. And it's almost those unknown people. You'll never know who you might have inspired, but you also might have that occasion in a year's time where you talk to someone who started their business and you say, "Oh, how are you doing?" And they say, "Do you know how I started? It was thanks to you." And that'll be that moment. So you might have that moment to come, but it's always nice to know that there's going to be people you inspire, even if you don't know that. Just by doing what you're doing, someone's going to see you and think, "Oh, I didn't know I could be like that. I didn't know that was an opportunity for me until I saw whoever was doing it," if it was yourself, Charlotte, or anyone else. It's like that's the opportunities that other people can kind of give. You don't realize who you might be inspiring, but the fact you might inspire at all is the most important thing.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know if this sounds a bit big head or whatever, but I do have people that come to me and say, "Oh, you really inspired me and stuff," but I don't want, I just find it difficult to talk about, I guess. Do you know what I mean?
I suppose you've helped people get started, I guess, and without the opportunities that you've given them, they wouldn't have been able to do it, or they might not even have known about it.
Yeah, but also, like, the reason why people have got to where they've got to is because of their hard work.
Yeah.
And I actually got corrected because I used to say, "Oh, it's because of this one person I'm now doing what I'm doing." And it's like, no, it's because of hard graft and not giving up and creating opportunities for myself.
Yeah.
That is how I got to where I am today. And yes, people have enabled me to open doors and to find those opportunities. But we need to take more ownership on where we have got to.
Yeah.
Because I think all too often it's easier to say, "Oh, I'm doing what I'm doing now because someone did this for me." And it's like, no, you found the opportunity.
Yeah.
You found the value. Someone can be introduced to 100 opportunities, but it's up to the person to decide to say yes,
Yeah.
or to take it forward, or to put that hard work into it. And that's where the inspiration should come from, is within ourselves.
Yeah, that makes sense. You're opening the door for them, but they have to step through it. It's up to
Exactly,
them.
yeah.
I suppose that goes on to the next thing about how can other people find their own inspiration?